In this video, we're going to have a look at some simultaneous equations. We're always going to use exactly the same principles when working from them. In this example, we've got 4a plus b is 11, 2a plus b is 7, and what we always want to do is make sure that we have the same coefficient, that is the number in front of a letter, the same. So obviously we've got a 4 and a 2 for the a, they're not the same, but we've got 1b here and 1b there. When we've got that situation, we can then work from it quite straightforwardly. So what I'm going to do, because I've got the same number of b's in both of these, I'm going to do the top line, take away the bottom line. 4a take away 2a is simply 2a. b take away b is nothing, that disappears. 11 take away 7 is 4, and we have the simple equation 2a equals 4. Dividing by 2 on both sides, we get 2. a is 2. We can then use this value to work out what b is. So I'm going to take this and substitute it into this equation here. So 2 times a, which we now know is 2, plus b equals 7. 4 plus b equals 7. I'm going to move the 4 to the other side, taking it away from both sides. b equals 7 minus 4, so b equals 3. And there are our two solutions. In this example, we don't have the same number in front of the x or the y, but we can make them be the same with a very simple trick. Looking at these numbers, I can choose to multiply one of the equations by something. And here I can see that I have 4y and I have 2y. If I were to multiply this by 2, I would get exactly the same number of y's as I have in there. Of course, what I need to do is multiply the whole equation by 2. So multiplying all of this by 2, what happens is that we get 10x plus 4y equals 32. So that's just the top one multiplied by 2. I'm now going to take these two equations that both have 4y's in them, and I'm going to work from those two. What I'm going to do here, because the numbers are going to work out nicer, is I'm going to do the bottom line take away this line. So 10x take away 4x is 6x, 4y take away 4y disappears, 32 take away 8 is 24. 6x equals 24. Dividing both sides by 6, I get 24 over 6, which is 4. So now I know that x is 4, I can substitute this into either of my equations, or any of my three equations for that matter. I'm going to choose this one because it's got the lowest number in it. So 4 times our value of x, which is 4, plus 4y equals 8. So here I've got 16 plus 4y equals 8. Now I'm going to take 16 from both sides. 4y equals 8 minus 16 is minus 8. And so 4y equals minus 8 gives me y equals minus 2. There is my x, there is my y, and there are the solutions. When you've got two solutions, what you can do is you can take both of these and substitute them into another equation just to make sure it works. We used this one before to find the value of y, so I'm going to substitute them both into this one. 5 times my value of x plus 2 times my value of y gives me 20 minus 4, which is 16, which is the same as the value I had up here. So I know that both of these values work. They work for this equation and they work for this equation. For this pair of equations, I don't have the same number of p's, I don't have the same number of q's, and there isn't a convenient number that I can multiply one equation by to get the same number of q's or p's in either of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both of these equations by numbers. I'm going to work with the p's. You could just as easily work with the q's, it doesn't really matter. What I'm going to do is if I multiply this one by 5, I'm going to get 20p, and if I multiply this one by 4, I'm going to get 20p as well. So I'm going to multiply the whole of the top equation by 5, and I'm going to multiply the whole of the bottom equation by 4. What that gives me is 20p plus 10q equals 110. On the bottom one, I'm going to get 20p plus 12q equals 120. Now I'm back to the situation where I have the same number of p's, or the same coefficient of p in both of these, and I can work from both of those. I'm going to do the bottom line take away the top line, because the numbers are bigger in this, it'll be a little bit nicer. 20p take away 20p disappears. 12q take away 10q is 2q. 120 take away 110 is simply 10. Divide both sides by 2, and you've got q is equal to 5. I can then use this, put it in any equation I want. Let's use the top one. 4p plus 2 times the value of q is equal to 22. So 4p equals 22 minus 10, of course moving the 10 to the other side. 4p equals 12, gives me p is equal to 3. So we have q is 5, p is 3. And once again, I can take both of these values, substitute them into the other equation, the second one, and it should work. 5 times 3, 15, plus 3 times 5, another 15, 15 plus 15 equals 30. Yes, it works. Another example of the same style of problem. We've got different numbers for f's, different numbers for g's, and so we're going to need to multiply both equations by something. I'm going to work with the g's to try and get those the same. So I'm going to multiply this top one by 5 and this bottom one by 6. This gives me 25f plus 30g equals 10. Multiplying this one by 6, I'm going to get 24f minus 30g equals 186. You can use a calculator to work that one out if you need to. And then, of course, we're going to work from these two equations. Now, we've got the same number in front of g. Both of them have a 30, but of course we have a different sign now. If I do 30g take away minus 30g, I'm going to end up with 60g in this place. Or if I do minus 30g minus 30g, I'm going to end up with minus 60. So what I have to do here is I actually have to add them. 30g plus minus 30g disappears. So I'm going to be adding these two equations together. So I end up with 49f, this part disappears, equals 196. So in this equation, okay, it's not very nice because of the numbers, but we can do f equals 196 over 49. You can type that into a calculator, you'll end up with 4. We now know that f is 4, we can substitute this into any equation. I'm going to use this one, just because it hasn't got any negatives in, it's a little bit nicer. So we go 5 times our f value of 4 plus 6g equals 2. 20 plus 6g is 2. Take 20 from both sides. 6g equals minus 18, which gives us g equals minus 3 when we divide minus 18 by 6. So we've got our f value, we've got our g value. We use the top one. Let's just check in the bottom one that it works. 4 times our value of f, which is 4, minus 5 times our g value of minus 3. This is 16. Minus 5 times minus 3 is plus 15, which equals 31, which is the same as that one up there. Be very careful, of course, when you've got negative numbers. Be very careful to make sure you're adding things rather than subtracting, as we have been doing in the other examples. And just be a little bit careful with this style. You should be okay if you practice it. There is a second video accompanying this one with some more examples of working with simultaneous equations. Please have a look in the description for a link to that video.